Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get started. Good evening, good afternoon to all. My name is Latoya Benjamin. I serve as a director to the Du Bois-Brent Center of Public Policy here at Medgar Evers College. Just a quick background of DBC, who we are and what we do, and the purpose of this program. So, the Du Bois-Brent Center for Public Policy was founded to empower and cultivate the work of new generation of scholar activists and advocates dedicated to identifying progressive solutions to the challenges confronting urban communities in the United States. The first director of the Du Bois-Brent Center of Public Policy was the late, great Dr. John Plateau. Since 1994, he became the first director of this center and immediately provided positive leadership by addressing major policy issues ranging from community justice reform and voting rights. A part of this program is to honor and establish, to recognize that Dr. Plateau had established the Du Bois-Brent Center of Public Policy as an official census information center. The Census Information Program was established back in 1998 when the U.S. Census Bureau and the National Urban League entered into a joint agreement to create a pilot project to make census data and information available to various communities. We are now under the leadership of Dr. Zalima Blair. Dr. Zalima Blair utilizes her experience and expertise to consult on decennial census and redistricting projects. She is also a respected analyst on political science conferences. Dr. Blair received her PhD in political science and a master's in public administration from Binghamton University. She received her JD from New York Law School and a BA from Boston College. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with that I open up our program, and let's welcome Dr. Zalima Blair.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you. Thank you for joining us at Medgar Evers College. On behalf of President Ramsey, Patricia Ramsey, and Provost Coleman, we welcome you today. Thank you, Joli, for doing this and being a presenter this evening. Today's session and census by community by the numbers, an introduction to Data.Census.Gov is about more than just learning how to navigate a website. It is about understanding how data tells a story. Whenever you're doing anything, people always ask for evidence. So today, we are so grateful that this partnership with the Census Bureau and Joli Golden is going to give us this justice. Joli Golden is a U.S. Census Bureau data dissemination specialist in the New York region, focused on New York City. Her current position involves educating the public on the availability, extraction, and usage of the vast array of data on the Census Bureau's website. Joli served as a partnership specialist during the 2020 census. She received a Bachelor of Arts from the University of Pennsylvania and a Master of Fine Arts from the UCLA School of Theater, Film, and Television. So, Joli, thank you for doing this.
Thank you so much, Dr. Blair, and thank you, Latoya, Aaron, and everyone at Medgar Evers at the Census Information Center for putting together not just this session, but this is actually part of an entire series that's going to be happening monthly. We're so excited about it. I am one of a number of different presenters who's going to be presenting, and we'll open up this session will be more of an introductory session, but we're going to go into business data, into data for the media, into housing. Our next session focuses on housing data, a very timely topic in New York City. And I am going to, without further ado, share my screen, but I had to thank everyone first. Okay, everyone sees the presentation there, hopefully? Okay,
yes.
Terrific. And as we go along, please know that I will share the presentation. Latoya will share it out with everyone post-session, along with some helpful links. And we will also, my colleague Aubrey Laws, who's on from our data users branch, he will be posting links in the chat, and there'll be some really great hands-on work that you can do in this session to get more familiar with census data. So there I am. I had the pleasure of working on the decennial census. We counted everyone once, only once, and in the right place. Today, we'll cover Census Bureau data and programs. including the decennial census, the American Community Survey, and the economic census. We'll do a quick hands-on exercise, finding data with census narrative profiles, a really easy way, low-hanging fruit, everyone can use that tool. And then we'll go a little deeper into Data.Census.Gov, and I'll do some live demonstration where we search for data. We'll learn how to create a chart and create a thematic map by census tract. I'll demonstrate that as well. Please feel free to put your questions in the chat, and we'll stop periodically and take questions. We're not a huge group at the moment, so we also could take questions with people asking them. But we're thrilled about your interest. So a little bit to start about the Census Bureau. We are the largest of 13 statistical agencies in the federal government. We conduct more than 130 censuses and surveys each year. That means we are the people on the ground who are pinging your inbox, who are knocking on your door, who are calling to make sure that we get responses to our surveys. Often we will collect that data and then hand it over to another agency like the Bureau of Labor Statistics so they can produce the unemployment rate. What we are most known for is the decennial census, that once a decade population and housing count of all 50 states and US territories, the annual snapshot of the American public with the American Community Survey, and the economic census, which is an official 5-year measure of American businesses. Our goal is to serve as the nation's leading provider of quality data about its people, places, and economy. So starting off with the decennial census, I always say, raise your hand if you were counted in the decennial census, right? And everyone should raise their hands because the decennial census is a head count. The difference between a census and a survey, anyone want to speak up on that one? Census versus survey. Okay, no takers yet. With a census, we are literally counting every person. There's no margin of error with the census data. In a survey, we're taking a sampling of the population and then producing estimates based on that sample. So during the decennial census, which is the largest non-military operation of the government, we're hiring hundreds of thousands of people to help us ensure a complete and accurate count. We're partnering with local organizations, colleges, faith-based organizations to make sure that we can count everyone. And this is mandated by Article 1, Section 2 of the Constitution. What's so critical about the census? It informs how more than $2.8 trillion in federal funds are distributed to local, state, and tribal governments each year. And it also plays an important role with reapportionment of congressional seats. So all of that redistricting that happens after the census, that count is really important. After 2020, which was the last decennial census, did New York win, lose, gain a seat or two? Any thoughts there? I'm trying to look and see if I can pull up my chat. You can feel free to put things in the chat.
Lost a seat.
We lost a seat, right? That was a tough one because New York City really, there was funding. We really got out the count. We lost a seat. Frankly, there were a lot of people who were happy that it was only one seat. So it's, well, we already 2030 is around the corner. We look forward to partnering with everyone to make sure that New York City is accurately counted in 2030. So in between those decennial estimates, we also do, there are changes in the population, right? There are surges in migration. There are births, there are deaths. Well, we create population estimates every year to make sure that that birth, death, and migration data is incorporated in terms of that funding formula. So interestingly, more recently, we actually altered the methodology for that funding to include humanitarian migrants. And what you can see here from July 2023 to July 2024, New York City was actually the city with the largest number of increase in population throughout the nation. So that's what this data visualization shows. We may not be the fastest growing, but we had the largest population change. In terms of economic programs, and we'll go into this when we have a session later on down the road with Census Business Builder, but we have a vast variety of economic data. That economic census is something that we do every 5 years. Ending in 2 and 7, we put out that survey to 3.5 million non-employer businesses, and it is mandatory for them to respond. So only recently did we finish releasing the results of the 2022 economic census. And from that data, you can get number of establishments, products, revenue, a whole host of economic data. Well, more on that down the road. But now getting into the American Community Survey, which is something we'll look at a lot of data for the ACS shortly. Back in 2000, if you were getting the decennial census, you either got a really long 8-page form or a 1-page form. After 2000, starting in 2010, we only did the 1-page form. But that long form that used to give a once every decade snapshot of the American public basically was transformed into the American Community Survey. So starting in 2005, we started sending this long form to 3.5 million addresses a year. We get roughly 2.2 million back, and we produce annual estimates based on that data. So on the right, you can see there are about 72 questions, over 35 topics are covered. It's a tremendous wealth of information, and it is heavily relied upon in terms of funding, grant applications, planning. And you can see on the right-hand side, I show that there are the key dates. September 11th, 2025 is when the 1-year data was released. So the 2024 data for larger geographies, over 65,000 in population. And then the 5-year data for people looking for smaller geographies like census tract data, that is coming on January 29th. So really soon. What does the ACS look like? Here you can see exactly just what a page on the survey looks like. I'm highlighting this in particular because since 1997, we have asked about Hispanic, Latino, or Spanish origin separately from race. They have been separate questions. And you can see on the survey form how people can write in their responses. So that's another reason it takes us a while to release the data. Not only do we need to make sure that the data is privacy protected, we do a little bit of differential privacy with our data, but also we're tabulating all of these responses. So just highlighting again, if you're looking for data for geographies of 65,000 or more, you're all set. Counties in New York City will all have 1-year data. When you're looking for smaller geographies, if you're looking at a map of all counties in New York State, and you're thinking, okay, I pulled up data for health insurer, people who are insured with health insurance in New York State, but a bunch of my counties are grayed out. That's because they were below that 65,000 threshold. So that'll become more apparent as we map data. In terms of topics that are available on the ACS versus the decennial in orange, you can see the short list of topics from the decennial census as opposed to the long laundry list from the American Community Survey. You also see some numbers, so DPO4, DPO5, et cetera. Those indicate data profile tables. And those are the table numbers. So when you're searching for those tables, you can easily put those into a general search and the data will come up. More on that shortly. So as I mentioned, it is so important for those of you who work with local constituencies. It is so important that we have as many people respond to our surveys as possible. We want economic diversity, racial diversity, we want geographic diversity. And so we have web pages that can be helpful in terms of figuring out, is that survey legitimate? Are you in a survey? And also showing how we protect your information. Any questions so far? Aubrey, how are we doing? LaToya, any questions in the chat, or is it pretty quiet?
So far, no questions.
Okay, all good. We'll keep moving. We'll keep moving on. So we can't talk about census data without talking about geography. It's really important to think about what area are you looking for census data for? Are you looking for a city, a town, or a hamlet? We classify that as a place. Are you looking for a few blocks? That would be a block group. Or are you looking for a zip code, which in our language is zip code tabulation area? You can see on this geographic hierarchy how certain geographies nest within one another, right? So a county is part of a state, which is part of a region, which is part of a nation. So those nest nicely within one another. Other geographies don't nest so nicely. So, for example, metropolitan areas can be spread out over various states. Zip code tabulation areas may cross state boundaries. One of the terms that you don't see here is neighborhood. So while you can find data for a neighborhood or neighborhood area, it's not something that you can search for in terms of a census geography. And for smaller geographies, like block groups is the smallest level of American Community Survey data, or census blocks is the smallest level of decennial census data. On the ACS, you want to be careful when you're looking at, say, block groups, because those are very small in terms of size and population, and the margins of error sometimes are quite high for that geography. So just always look at margin of error as well. So visually, what do some of these geographies look like? Well, on the left, we have Bronx County. And then in the middle, we have Bronx County as shown with public use microdata area boundaries. Public use microdata areas are a very useful geography in New York City because PUMAs, as they're known, divide up by roughly 100,000 in population, and they subdivide a county. So, or they may cross several counties, but they subdivide a state. They may cross several counties, but in New York City, we have partnered with New York City Planning so that those public use microdata areas correspond to the boundaries for community board districts. So often they're one-to-one for community board districts. On the right, in purple, you see a map that shows how granular the census tract level of geography is, right? How small you can get in terms of seeing what a county might look like in terms of data by census tract. And just know that periodically, every decade, some of those boundaries may change. Census tracts may be subdivided, but for the most part, a lot of it really does stay the same. And in terms of other ways to access data, which we're not going to cover today, and we're not putting all these links in the chat, but they will be available. They're available on Census.Gov, and they will be available through the presentation. You can see that we have many other tools. We're going to cover most of them over the course of the year in this series, but we're not covering all of them today. Just just to know that you can see things like the housing unit change viewer, an exciting new tool. So now let's dive into census narrative profiles. The narrative profile is like a quick, on-the-go, easy, low-hanging fruit to look at. You can put into Google search census narrative profile. I think that that my colleague Aubrey dropped the link into the chat if that's easier for you. We have a list of over 50 tools on Census.Gov. I find it easiest to look for tools by just putting them into my search browser of choice when I know the tool name. So this is smartphone friendly. You're getting 5-year ACS data. You can see a snapshot of it here on the screen. And it's very useful for narrative description. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to search. It's great if you pull it up on your screen. I'm going to look at the census, show you how to find the census narrative profile for an address, and then look at what industry employs the highest percent of the population in this district. So, here we go. So if I pulled up, I just want to show you how easy this is. If I pull up census narrative profile, the first search result that comes up, here it is. You can choose via geography. You can change the years back to 2015, but I'm going to click on address lookup. And right here in the search box, I'm putting in 197 East Broadway, New York, York. That happens to be on the Lower East Side. It's where an organization called the Educational Alliance is based, and the Manny Cantor Center. If I look up the address, or if we put in Medgar Evers College, same thing. If I look up the address, you don't usually need to put in the zip code. I have matches found for all these different geographies, but I want the most local information. So I'm going to look at the narrative profile by clicking on census tract. And now I'm patient for a few seconds while this loads. And then I get 18 different topics with information. You can click here if you want to view the tabular format. And also, let's say I was doing a presentation or a paper or working on my master's thesis. I could just copy and paste this data and indicate that it was from American Community Survey 5-year data profiles. And we welcome you to use this data. It is free of charge, just like my services to train people, free of charge, and available to the public. And it's the gold standard of census data, the American Community Survey. So if I were to scroll down and I see all of these different wonderful topics, I would get to industries, and I could see here that over 27% of the people who live in this census tract work in educational services, healthcare, and social assistance of the employed population age 16 and over in census tract 6. So now it's your turn to find the census narrative profile for your work, school, or home address. And I'm hoping that you can pull it up and find what is the percent of people who use public transportation to get to work. If you only have a phone, you could use the QR code. But it's nice, it's nice to be able to pull it up on a computer too, so you can see it full screen. Giving everyone a minute. And then if anyone wants to put their results of the percent of people who use public transportation to get to work for the address they searched, feel free to put it in the group chat. Let's see. Anyone have any luck yet? Okay, Elise, thanks so much from Councilmember Brewer's office. So 41.5%. Miss, I'm not sure if N. Rosenthal, I appreciate your putting your 57.4%. People are hyper local where you are. Serenity, thanks so much. 31%. So pretty amazing, especially where we're located here in an urban area with so much access to public transportation. When you look in Latoya, 59.5%. When you look at these results in the middle of, in Kansas, outside of metro areas, most people are definitely not using public transportation to get to work. So that's one of the pleasures of living in New York City. So everybody use this address lookup. And now let's move to our main platform, Data.Census.Gov, because we've got lots to explore. So this is the landing page. You can see there's a single search, or there's a little link below that search where you can go to advanced search. We'll use advanced search a lot. Sometimes when you put in keywords into single search, it can be very helpful, but also you might get, several thousand results. So it's easy to narrow things down by using the filters that are shown on the left. Many different surveys that you can access, from the decennial census and ACS to economic surveys, even international data. And then we have a variety of topics and subtopics. So just keep in mind, if you don't see just what you want in the topics that are listed, click on them and you'll see subtopics. Health insurance is under health, school enrollment under education, SNAP benefits under income and poverty, etc. And the most popular and often searched geographies show on the left-hand side in the filters. But if you're looking for other geographies like public use microdata areas or congressional districts, you can search on all geographies and all of the other geographies will pull up. Many different, the tables, you can dissect the table numbers by looking at this table. I just included this for your reference. But data profile tables, DP, are very popular, comparative profiles, CP, etc. When you're comparing the data, just keep in mind to compare 1 year to 1 year data. So let's say for Queens County data, you'd look at 2020 data, 2021, 2022. But if you were looking at smaller, like census tract level data or counties that have less population, you don't want to compare overlapping 5-year periods. So you want to make sure, if you're starting with 2013, say 2013 to 2017, and then 2018 to 2022. So I did a little homework here, and I exported some data, because on Data.Census.Gov, you can export data into Excel. And then I created a nice little chart that has data for gross rent as a percentage of household income, 35% or more for 1 year estimates. What is missing in this? When you look at this chart, what is obviously something is missing?
2020.
2020. Thank you, Aaron. Yes, 2020 was a very challenging year for data collection. We did not release, due to the pandemic, we were not able to reach our standards in terms of data collection. So we released only 5-year estimates for that year. So you cannot get 1 year estimates. That's why when you do a search and you come up with a comparative profile, there'll be X's all through the 2020 1 year data. So that's just something to know. Now it's time for our brain break. These are stickers that I sometimes share out. So hopefully one day I'll come and see you guys in person. So we have, I never metadata I didn't like. and I heart census data. I ran out of the data nerd stickers, but I just thought I'd share with you what, we're in the lean years now. As we get closer to 2030, usually better stickers, better swag comes out. So one day, hopefully, we'll all share those in person. And now let's move to live demo of Data.Census.Gov. So I'm going to search, let's all pull up Data.Census.Gov in a browser. I'm going to search for the disabled population in New York City, including a breakdown by the type of disability. So here we go. And let's go here. So here's Data.Census.Gov. And I'm just going to put in disability and New York City and see what happens. Now, disability does narrow my search a fair amount, so I only got 116 data sets. If I put in just New York City, there would be far more. If I click on S181, I can shop for data in any of these tables. You can click on any table you want, and it will pull up the local data. You can get rid of the margin of error to see things a little more clearly. And here you can see this has a disability breakdown by vision difficulty, cognitive difficulty, ambulatory difficulty, et cetera, et cetera. Now, going back, if I want to go back to my search results, I just click the back bar and all of these come up. And when you get those general search results, on the right-hand side, you can see that there's a view profile link. This is a gold mine of data. If I click that view profile link, hopefully my view profile link will come up. So this takes a few seconds to populate, but it's worth it. So we can see it'll show you where the geography is, and then a whole bunch of other tables, statistics with these hyperlinks for different tables will show up. It's a really easy way to narrow down statistics. And then the other nice feature of the geographic profile is it gives you this handy population pyramid, which shows data broken down by male, female in terms of gender. And if you can see basically where the population, what age and sex the population is greatest in this area, and a whole bunch more data in charts. So now it's going to be your turn. So you can see there, these are the different examples. To do a simple search in Data.Census.Gov for Queens County, New York, and click on the View Profile link on the right side of the page. What is the percent of the population that speaks the language other than English at home? So I'm going to give everyone 2 minutes on this one, maybe even less. Aubrey, you're doing an amazing job there putting the links in. Thank you. Feel free to put your answer into the chat, please. Oh, John, I'm sorry you're having Wi-Fi issues. I will show this in another 30 seconds. I'll pull it up on the screen so we can go through and hopefully you can see it. Okay, I'm starting to see some answers come up. People are finding the same answer. That's usually a good sign. Okay, so I am going to I'm going to pull up Data.Census.Gov. And Don, I think you were having trouble. So I'm just searching here for Queens County. And be careful because Queens County, a few results come up. You want to make sure you get to Queens County, New York. Otherwise, you could have very different results. Now, I get the whole population in Queens County is over 2.4 million. And I'm going to click on the view profile link on the right-hand side. You do have to be a little patient. And sometimes it kind of all loads at once. Thanks, Aubrey. Oh, and Donna, so Aubrey just put in the Queens County profile link. Hopefully this will pop up in a second. If for whatever reason, if it doesn't, if I'm having Wi-Fi, it's been a very interesting time in New York City for those of us with Verizon service with what's been going on here. Okay, here we go. So that just populated, right? It took a few seconds. If I scroll down, and it's still populating, but if I scroll down, I would be able to see that 56.1%. All right, here's the population pyramid. And then scrolling down, you can see the types of language spoken at home and that 56.1%, thank you everybody who put their results in the chat, speak a language other than English. Queens is actually one of the most diverse counties in the nation. So that's illustrated here. The next thing we're going to do is something more in depth. We're going to look at Ernesto, who's considering moving to New York City and wants to compare housing data between New York, the Bronx, and Richmond counties. He's got a budget. He's been saving up. His budget to buy a home is about $700,000. And given median housing values, which county is the best option for Ernesto? So now we are going to go into, we're going to clear our cache in Data.Census.Gov by going to the left, and that'll clear out all of our filters. We'll go to advanced search, and we're looking for 3 different counties. Our most recent county level data in New York is 2024. So I'm going to put in 2024 and it loads as a filter. And then the county, I go to county and watch and learn because you'll do this in a minute. New York or something similar. We'll go to New York. And now I'm going to put in New York County. You can also quick search for it here. I'm going to put in the Bronx. So Bronx County. And the last one is Richmond. And those all populated on the left. Now my topic is housing. So I'm going to look at housing and I'm looking for median housing values. So I'm going to look at financial, let's try financial characteristics. And here we've got housing value and purchase price. I could click any of them. And on the lower right-hand corner, I'm going to click search. So this brings up a bunch of tables, including median value in dollars for housing. I click on that link, and this brings up the median value. If I want to look at it in chart format, I can click on chart up here or chart under my tools on the right. So charts are a new feature. So if Ernesto has about $700,000, it looks like he probably could do a good job looking for housing in Richmond County or in the Bronx, but he may be priced out of Manhattan, which has a much higher median value of housing. So now, everybody, it's your turn. And now you're going to help Ernesto's sister, Yara, who's looking to rent an apartment in New York City. Which counties in New York City have the highest rental vacancy rates? Find table DPO4, so data profile 04, has lots of housing information for American Community Survey 1-year estimates for 2024. Create a chart to show this data. So Aubrey, can you put that question into the chat? And I'm going to put up the steps that you can take to find the answer. And give everyone a little less than 5 minutes to work through this. The more practice, the more you dive yourself into the tool, the friendlier it becomes.
Hi, Jolie.
Hi.
So I'm doing it on my phone. I have issues of Wi-Fi also, but
The phone
where
might be
I
a
don't
little,
see geography
the phone might be
after
a little,
2024.
Sandra, the
Uh-huh.
phone might be a little quick for this one, but maybe I'll, you know what I'm gonna do? Um, I'm gonna pull up Data.Census.Gov on my screen, and maybe you can talk me through where you'd like me to click, where you'd like me to go, and we can group solve that way. Does that sound good?
Right. So yeah, I got up to 2024, and that's where I don't
Okay,
find geography.
okay. So let's see if I pull up Data.Census.Gov. I'm going to clear this out and I'm going to go to advanced search. So here I am. And the first
But
thing
it
you
may
want me
look
to
different on the computer versus the phone. I think that's
do,
the issue,
when you get to the phone is
right?
good for quick facts, it's good for census narrative profiles. When you get to doing more advanced work and for data.census.gov, you can get results, but to do advanced searching on data.census.gov, you're going to have a hard time on the phone. On a tablet, you'll
Okay,
be
got it.
okay. Okay. But
Yeah,
Sandra,
the tablet shut down on me.
oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Maybe you ran out of juice. Um,
Yeah,
so, so here, can you see it? Can you see it on my screen here? Where I have
yes.
2024.
Uh-huh.
Okay. Now where am I
Mm-hmm.
going to go next? Do you want me to go to geography?
Yeah.
Okay. And which counties are we looking at? All counties in New York City? So we'll go to county and what next? I don't know if you can see it. Now we have to choose the state. And now can you name the 5 counties in New York City for me?
Kings.
Okay, let's do
Let me do
Kings,
alphabetical. Bronx, Kings,
Bronx, uh-huh,
Kings, Queens,
Queen,
New
all right,
York,
Queen, New York,
and Staten Island,
right, which is Richmond.
Richmond.
So now we've got all those counties selected. And the next thing we need is for this one, we're going to look instead of looking we could have looked through the topics, but it's actually really nice to go right to the survey, to the American Community Survey, and go to 1 year estimates and these data profiles. So when we look at the data profiles and we search, even though only 4 tables will come up, they are very data rich tables. So you'll get a lot of data for each one. Usually you can even find what you're looking for. You'll find a lot of information that can be helpful here. So I'm going to click on DPO4, which is selected housing characteristics. And you can see here lots of information about housing. But we wanted to chart this, to make a chart with this data. We can see here the rental vacancy rate is listed. So we could just eyeball this and do a comparison. But it's nice to have a chart. So either you can look under more tools or you can look over here and just click on charts. And this chart comes up, but it's not the rental vacancy rate, it's occupied housing by geography. So we're going to go to this little down caret and we're going to change our units to number. And we wanted rental vacancy rate. So now this shows me where the greatest rental vacancy rates are, and they're still really low, right? New York City, it's tough here. It's 4.4% in Kings County and 4.9% in New York County, much lower for Queens and for the Bronx in terms of rental vacancy rates in Staten Island. Sandra, any questions? Can you see this on the phone or is it too small? And she muted herself. Okay, so that was our rental vacancy question. Did everyone was able to find was able to create the chart, hopefully? And I'm going to show you one last example. Great, Donna, I'm glad you were able to do it. Terrific. So the next thing we're going to do is we are going to look at the top 5 census tracts with the highest number of people receiving SNAP benefits we can do Queens County or Kings County. Anyone have any preference? LaToya, should we do Kings County? Yes? Aaron's nodding yes. Right. Medgar Evers is in. So let's do Kings County. So here I am in Data.Census.Gov. I'm going to go to advanced search. And instead of searching by county like we did before, I'm looking for census tract. And even though I'm looking for census tract within Kings County, I want to go to the smallest geography that I'm looking for, which is the tract level. So I go to census tract and then New York. And then I can choose Kings County. And now it'll let me click all census tracts within Kings County, hundreds of tracts. I know for tract level data, you can put this in or not. I happen to know I can select 2023. That's the latest that's currently released. And now I'm looking for SNAP benefits. So what topic do people think SNAP benefits would fall under? Anyone? Health, housing, populations and people, income and poverty, employment. Any thoughts? Jennifer, I see you looking. Let's try
income and poverty.
Income, and then we'll go to income and earnings, and lo and behold, there it is, SNAP benefits, SNAP food stamps. So now we have our filters loaded, and we're going to go and select chat. Oh, I'm sorry, and we're going to select search. I'm looking at the chat. And when the search comes up, the first thing I see is S2201, which is all food stamp SNAP. If I know I like table S2201, I could have just put that in the search to start with and then just added the other stuff, other geography. Now I get this friendly stop sign, okay? Don't be intimidated by the friendly stop sign. It just means that if your table is less than 1,000 columns, you can click open the table, this little link there, and this giant table will open. At this point, I want to see those SNAP benefits. My table is so enormous, it's hard for me to visualize. So I'm going to go to more tools and map. And this beautiful map will populate. I can zoom in. I can change the color of the map. I can make that color more opaque so you can really see things better. And this is showing the percentage of households receiving food stamps. If I want, I can pull up something called a histogram by clicking on classes. And I can go and look at, say, the top, by dragging the histogram to the right or left, I can look at the top 10 census tracts where people are receiving food stamps for SNAP. Let's say I want to change that, and I can overlay those public use microdata areas by clicking on boundaries. So if I want to put the Pumas in, or I want to put congressional districts in, I can click on public use microdata areas, and all of a sudden I get a real sense of community board district areas where more people are collecting food stamps. Now, one of the things I like to also do to manipulate the map further, I can click on the down arrow here and change this to number and do households not receiving food stamps, and the whole map repopulates. And I can even add to that households below the poverty level not receiving food stamps. So these are areas where maybe people should be receiving food stamps. So we can look at this. So I think that I think Auburn, hello. I think I saw Aldrin Benia earlier this week, but I think that Aubrey has been putting links into the chat. I just want to add here that I think will lead us to nearly the end of our session. Right, Latoya? Latoya's nodding. I do want to mention that you can find more webinars and information and short videos on census.gov/academy. And you can also feel free to reach out to me. I'm available. I'm going to put my my email address in the chat. And if your local office would like to do a census data training session focused on your local geography, I'm happy to do that with staff. Or if you're a student and you have a research question, feel free to reach out to me. We are happy to be helpful. So that concludes our presentation for today. I hope we'll see you at the next 11 of our sessions coming up on a monthly basis. And Latoya, anyone have any questions or final comments?
I just want to thank you, Jolie. This was great. Thank you for the topics you chose and the geographies you chose. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. And and Latoya, would you like to say anything final? Otherwise, I think Dr. Blair, we are good to let everyone, if anyone has any comments about whether they would, if the time of this session was helpful to them, if they think something else might be better, we are open to suggestion, and we have lots of really terrific information to share with you coming forward for the rest of this year.
Awesome. I thank you so much. I just wanted to end it to say to the audience, thank you guys for joining us. Please tap in and continue to follow the Du Bois Brent Center. We will be continuing this series. Again, Jolie dropped her contact information in the chat. We have a state-of-the-art facility here where folks can come and use the space here at Medgar Evers College. The Du Bois Brent Center, we are here to support you guys in all your research and census needs. We have a tremendous speaker series that we're going to be launching. So just stay in tune, follow our social media pages so you can stay on top of what the next topic will be. Thank you all, and we look forward to seeing you again. And I'm just want to acknowledge Jolie, your team, and Aubrey again, who is also a part of the liaison for the Du Bois Brent Center, Public Policy Census Information Center. So thank you, Jolie, and to your team. And we look forward to continuing to work with you.
Thank you, Aubrey. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Very informative.
Thank you.